Welcome back to Island View. Last week, we brought you a spotlight on a lieutenant on board the USS Normandy. This week, reporter Mickey Burns takes us aboard the Normandy once again, this time to say goodbye as the Homeport closes.
It's been a love affair between Staten Island and the Homeport, but come the end of May, the USS Normandy will be passing under the Verrazano Bridge for the last time. But before they leave, there was one grand party to say goodbye. It was only fitting that the farewell reception for the Staten Island Homeport be held aboard the USS Normandy. The Normandy, which is one of the Navy's most powerful and capable battleships, was the first vessel to call Staten Island home. She'll also be the last vessel to leave the Homeport.
Whereas Staten Island has bid a sad but fond farewell to this magnificent vessel and extend to the officers and crew of the Normandy their most heartfelt best wishes, their esteem and admiration, along with their vow of continuing friendship, as we pledge never to forget the faces and memories left permanently in the wake of our beloved Normandy, forever the first and foremost vessel in Staten Island's heart.
Normandy's next voyage before calling Norfolk, Virginia home will be a trip to France to take part in the 50th anniversary celebration of the Allied invasion known as D-Day back on June 6, 1944, when over 150,000 troops landed on Normandy Beach. This battle was the beginning of the end of Nazi Germany's domination of Europe, and it was also this famous battle that the USS Normandy was named in honor of. According to Captain Thomas Feddersen, leaving Staten Island is not going to be an easy task.
It's going to be difficult for us. I specifically asked to come up here to Staten Island. I had heard so many good things about the community. They all turned out to be true, and now we've got to leave. So mixed emotions maybe isn't right. I'm pretty sad about leaving.
It's almost over for Staten Island, but what is your fondest memory of being here?
I think our fondest memory is when we came back from our 6-month deployment. We saw literally thousands of people on the pier wishing us a fond return. And it wasn't just our families. It was the people of Staten Island who were out there with their banners and their balloons telling us how much they missed us, and it really touched our hearts.
One of the people most instrumental in getting the Homeport to Staten Island was Borough President Guy Molinari. For him, its departure is a tough pill to swallow.
Well, it's a sad day for us, and particularly for myself, because going back to my congressional days, I fought hard for the entire Homeport program throughout the country, little realizing that when we beat Boston to get the Homeport in the northeast section, that a few years later we'd be saying goodbye. I can recall vividly coming in with this ship under the Narrows Bridge, standing alongside Captain Parada, and as I was reflecting today about the events, it certainly is a sad day for me to see the Normandy leaving.
Most feel the Navy's departure is a sad chapter in Staten Island history. I asked Bob Horn, the Naval Station's commanding officer, to explain the main reason for the Homeport closing.
Basically, we were going for a 600-ship Navy. We're going to end up with a 300 and some ship Navy, so it's less than half. So the infrastructure has got to match the numbers of ships available. It's that simple. This is a beautiful place. It really is. We're all sad that it has to happen, but it really is the right thing to do.
I feel almost like this is my baby, because I was here for the startup, for the outreach to the community, the buildup of the whole thing, and now I have to also close her down. It is very, very difficult, and I've never been anywhere that has been friendlier, more outreach to the Navy, any place else I've ever been in the entire world in the Navy. And we tried as much as we could to give back to the community what we can, and you've seen a lot of our projects out there on Staten Island.
During the reception aboard the Normandy, many Staten Islanders I spoke with were concerned about the economic fallout created by the closing of the Homeport.
I feel it was a tremendous letdown for Staten Island, because we all did bank on it, not only for real estate, but for just generally. It was a very good support system. It was one of the nicest, this is myself speaking, it was one of the nicest things that have happened to Staten Island, one of the most positive things in a long time, and it's really a sorry affair that it's going.
As far as the economic development is concerned with Staten Island, I do believe that the temporary caretakership of the emergency services coming in to take over the base is a fantastic economic move, particularly for the mom and pop stores of Staten Island. And what more befitting than to have those who serve serve our city take over for those who serve our country. And with the training schools with police and fire, they're going to be training 4,000 students a year here, and that's certainly an economic boom.
However, looking at the bigger picture, Borough President Molinari feels the Homeport closing is the beginning of a trend that could weaken our national security.
Oh, I just wonder, and frankly, losing the Homeport is one thing, but I'm more concerned with our national defense and whether we're going too far in cutting down on our military forces. We've done that in the past, and then it costs very expensive to build back up again. So even now, the president is talking about the next base closure commission trying to put those closures off. So all of a sudden, they're rethinking their position. Well, perhaps if they did it a little earlier, this base may not have been closed.
Local officials fought for many years to bring the Homeport to Staten Island. Call it bad timing or just plain international calm. But come the end of May, the USS Normandy will be leaving Staten Island shores for the last time. And what they're leaving behind are a lot of friends who wish they were staying. For Island View, I'm Mickey Burns.
Mickey, it's really a shame the Homeport is closing.
It certainly is, Dolores. Many Staten Islanders were banking on this Homeport for economic prosperity and stability, especially those who have invested in real estate and businesses along Bay Street and in surrounding areas of the Homeport.
Borough President Guy Molinari seems very upset over the closing.
And he should. He's worked long and hard just to get the Homeport to Staten Island. Now he's losing it. In speaking with him, another factor is that Staten Island offers the Navy one of the few deep water ports in the nation. And because of this factor, the borough president felt Staten Island should have been spared.
Well, that's really very interesting. What criteria did the Navy use to determine what ports to close?
That's even a better question, Dolores. In speaking with the borough president, he mentioned that the Navy had a dilemma. They had to close 300 sites, naval sites, nationwide. So it really came down to old-fashioned politics and political clout. And unfortunately, this time around, Staten Island lost.
That is unfortunate. Thanks for that story, Mickey.
You're welcome, Dolores.